Hello everyone, it's Scott Hendrickson from MindPlace. I had a question on the Transparent Corporation forum. They are the creators of MindWorkstation and NeuroProgrammer. And a user had a biofeedback machine that he was wanting to track the values as they increase upward. He would use AudioStrobe here to turn lights on light glasses on, and then as the value went downward, the glasses would turn off. And so he was having a little bit of trouble of setting up formulas to do that, and so I just wanted to make this quick video on at least one approach. In MindWorkstation there's often several approaches to do the same thing. This is one particular approach and maybe the cleanest one. So what I first need to do, since I don't have that particular biofeedback machine, and just as a general hint, when you are programming, it's often better to not be concerned so much with setting up the sensors and trying to get readings that you can control from the sensors, especially biofeedback, because it's a slow change process. So what you want to do is you want to set up some fake data, essentially. So we're going to use the entrainment track for that, and in the file that I include, I have it named fake GSR. And let's generate some nodes, and we're going to make it quick. So we'll create a node every, say, 0.2 minutes. And since we're going to look at GSR, and this obviously wouldn't be applicable to entrainment, we're going to make the value from 1 to 100. Let's actually do 0 to 100. So that's a huge range for entrainment, but again, we are just making fake GSR data, and most of the biofeedback machines come in at this range, and we'll keep whole numbers. So let's generate that. Now that gives us a lot of nodes. That's ramps up and down across values, and obviously your biofeedback readings wouldn't shift this much, but it at least gives us a range to play with. So let me just show the effect, since I already have it set up and I have a camera hooked up here, and I have one of our Kasina machines hooked up, and a special little treat, which is some of the eye open glasses. So anyway, let's check that out. So right now the value's rising and it's reading it. Light glasses are on, flashing, and now we're starting to track down, so the glasses turn off. And we'll be rising here again in a moment. It's reading every 5 seconds. We'll go into that. And so just in a moment, after it gets 5 seconds to see the change here, the glasses come on again. Now again, on the Kasina, you have the ability in AudioStrobe to shift between colors. So I have a random color set running right now, and so you're going to get some color variety as well as you run across each one of these settings. If you were just doing basic AudioStrobe, then you're going to be limited to the abilities of your machine and your glasses. Alright, so I think that's pretty cool. When you're testing, keep in mind you can drag this bar. Maybe people don't always realize that you can do that, but while it's playing, so you could test it there, the glasses came on, now I can drag into an area where they'll be off. It takes, 5 minutes or 5 seconds for it to catch up. Now they're off, and so we'll be coming back on in a moment. Right, so you can just drag along and test various places as you go, just to get the reading. And that's another benefit of putting in the fake data. Okay, so let's look at the formulas that are doing this. So I have a formula engine and I have a timer engine that's doing it. So let's first look at the timer engine. Alright, in the timer engine, I am reading the entrainment value from our fake GSR track. Okay, so I'm reading this data. Now you would switch that to your biofeedback machine if you had one hooked up and you were using it. And we're updating that every 5 seconds. And the duration is for the engine. So it just updates every 5 seconds, goes on forever. And that's useful. Now in the up and down formula engine, what we have here is we have the formula, and it is a Boolean logical test, right? So it says if. Now, one of the things that you should learn about a formula engine is that you can use a function, an engine function here called get previous value, and use a string name. All right. So the formula says if the previous value of what the reading is, the biofeedback reading, is less than the current reading of the entrainment track, which is fake data, okay, then set, right now I'm doing two things. I'm setting a tone, I'm setting AudioStrobe as actions. So if the data is less, the previous value is less than the current value, which means it's rising, okay, then set the pitch of that to 200. Otherwise, set the pitch to 100. Now, we're doing a pitch track as well, as you heard when we're showing the lights, because you're able to easily hear that as well. Now, the user didn't want a pitch track, so he would take that out. But otherwise, you'd be able to use that as just a gauge of how your settings are working. And I had to do a little math here at the bottom for the AudioStrobe to account for what I did here, to where the frequencies double, high and low, 200 or 100, 200 or 100, so you could hear it easily. We need to look. So basically I have two actions that are, one's controlling the pitch track, which is right here, tone 1, and the other's controlling the AudioStrobe track, which is what the user wants. Now for the AudioStrobe track, because I mentioned the 2 and 100, I had to map it. So I have a formula output range set from 100 to 200, which translates to 0 to 50. So the lights are really only going up to half of their total brightness. That's just by preference because I'm filming them with a camera, so it looks better if they're about halfway. Now what that means is that when the formula output is 100, the AudioStrobe brightness will be 0, and when the formula output is 200, then the AudioStrobe will be 50. So you would set that to 0 and 100 if you wanted the full range of AudioStrobe and not have to go through this complexity of using the tone and translating it. So you would basically just eliminate the tone, keep the AudioStrobe, get rid of the output range mapping, and just use the engine option. Because again, look at what the formula would do under that case. Instead of saying 200 and 100, it would say 100 and 0. So if the value of ongoing, the previous value that it read from the timer engine, is less than the current value, which means it's rising, okay? The value before is lower than the current value. All right, so that means it's rising. Then set AudioStrobe brightness to 100. Otherwise, else set it to 0. So that's the basic. And you could turn that around if you wanted. You could say if it's greater than, and then just switch the two cases. It would work the same way. But anyway, there's one way. And so I'm updating every 5 seconds. The timer engine's updating every 5 seconds. And let's just look at our variable list real quick too. So we have a track variable. That's where this fake data is coming from. It's linked to that fake GSR track, so its ID is fake data. I renamed it to that. And then the timer engine is called the ongoing. All right, and so it's linked to the timer engine. So those are our two variables, and that's what this formula means. So if you get the previous value from the timer engine and it's less than the value from the fake data or the GSR machine, then do your conditions here. This condition is if it's true, the next one is if it's false. And you get that from under logical if here, and it'll tell you condition, expression 1, expression 2. So that achieves what we want to achieve, and let's look at it again. So now the lights are on. They'll generally always start on because they don't have any data that they're working with. We're still rising, so they remain on. Now they'll go off and the pitch will drop. All right. Now they'll come back on again here in a moment. Remember, it's updating every 5 seconds. So the user actually wanted it, I think, longer than that. If you did, then just change the outputs of the updates here in the engines. Update every 60 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to change both, but you might as well keep them in sync. All right, so I think that achieves at least the first part of what he wants to do. He also wants to get tracking percentage, and that requires a whole different setup, which we'll go over in another video. Anyway, that's it for now, and I hope you learned how to do it. I'll include the session file and upload it to the transparent forum and put a link in this video. This is Scott Henderson from MindPlace. Enjoy.